We're talking about underperforming salespeople, specifically when they are not putting the correct data into the system that we need. So let's go into how you deal with that.
Welcome back to Sales Operations for Small Businesses.
When you first notice that there might be something up with the data, it puts you in a difficult situation because generally speaking, and particularly in a small company, you are at the same level as the salesperson's manager, right? So you're thinking, well, what do you do? Do you just go to them directly or do you go to their manager? What's the correct way to do it? And in truth, a manager's role isn't just to help the salesperson doing sales. It's not just to help them with the sales and everything that they're doing externally. It's also to help them with the whole of their role, which includes the stuff that they have to do inside of the company. Now, this is a whole separate conversation about things that, what is a manager's duty. And I personally do believe, as a quick side note, that managing is a skill in and of itself, and a lot of people end up being promoted to be managers without having that skill. It's usually something that ends up being given to someone who's effectively outgrown their role. They're too good at their role, and you can't just keep giving them money, so you just give them responsibility and a title, and sometimes with more money, and then you're responsible for people now, so that's your promotional duties, despite the fact that some people don't know how to manage. So coming back to it, yes, you would expect that person's manager to be able to pick up on things that the individual salesperson could be doing better, but that's not always the case. In a lot of cases, in a small or large business, but in a lot of cases, because of what I just said about managers, they may have grown up professionally inside a system where they could get away with not actually putting in correct data into the system because their sales were so good. No one ever really questioned them on it. It's a very old world culture, but it's what happens a lot of times, and you may even recognize some salespeople that are like that. They're so good, they just get away with all kinds of things. And so if those people then end up being managers, they may be judged on whether data is in the system, for example, or whether people are following the operational structure. But because they never did it, even if they're trying to tell the person that is their direct report, this is what you're supposed to be doing, it's going to be difficult for them to tell them with any kind of integrity because they know they never followed the rules either. And that's me being nice about it. There are a number of people who would just say, pretend I'm telling you up about this, but I don't really care because all that matters is that you're getting the sales in. So with that said, you're not always going to see differences, issues, gaps immediately. What I would recommend is that you choose your data points, and this does really depend on what the focuses are for your company in that particular year as well, or even in that particular quarter. But if you know, for example, what the forecast is, that the number does fluctuate, but you know how much it fluctuates by over a certain period of time. So you can effectively tell yourself if it fluctuates over or under a certain amount, even if it's 10,000, 50,000, 200,000, depends on the size of deals in your company, then that's something that you need to look into. Then that's one of the triggers that can make you think, oh, there might be something wrong here. That's at very base level. What I would recommend is that you create yourself a super admin dashboard, right? And again, you're in a small company. I'm presuming you're the person that's also managing the CRM. So create yourself your own dashboard. This isn't for other people. You can create one for them. But again, it depends on your relationship with everybody in your team and whether you're at that level in your maturity yet for them to be able to see things like this. But the super admin dashboard would have those things like, has everybody logged in this week? Are all of the activities, how many opportunities have activities or haven't had an activity within like 2 months? Because even if you have like a normal, let's say you're on level, I'd like to say two, maybe three of your maturity model, and you've been able to create something that my old boss referred to as a clean your room dashboard, which showed you things like this. There's contacts added to an opportunity, for example, activities being added, the next meeting's coming up's been added, etc. If that already exists, you may have things within normal parameters, but the way the reports are specifically designed will be different from how you'll want to look at them as an admin. I hope that makes sense. So if you're not at that level yet, just create one for you. So like I say, have contacts been added to all of these opportunities? Has everybody logged in within the last 7 days? Or whatever is appropriate to your company? Activities that have been added. Is the close date, if you use specific schedule date forecasting or something like Salesforce, is the close date in the past, generally speaking, or is the close date not matching when the schedule date is? So, for example, in a company that I work with, the close date is when you expect to win the opportunity, right? And the schedule date is when you're expecting to invoice the different parts of this deal. So if the schedule date is before the close date, something is wrong. So setting up opportunities, setting up reports like that in your Super Admin dashboard to come to you. And so like I said, like when you're going further on into your maturity model, you'll be able to show those things to them specifically. But if you're just showing them to you, you'll be able to see when it's the same names that are coming up over and over and over again. And when you're in your team meeting with their manager, you can mention, hey, do you know what, this is what's going on? Or if you don't have that relationship, you're going to have to go to them one-to-one and say, look, I'm seeing this issue with this person and it's coming up. And, you know, they might even say, well, why? Why is it a problem? And then you're going to have to explain that it messes up the validity of the data. Now, would you necessarily go to the manager straight away? No, I wouldn't recommend it. What you can do is use this as an opportunity to forge a relationship with the salesperson individually. Now, your main relationship isn't with them, it's with the managers, it's the managerial people, the people that make structural decisions, actually. But it doesn't hurt to reinforce your supportive relationship with the actual salespeople. So going to them straight away, or if it's not straight away, if you're seeing a trend, maybe it depends on your own confidence level, and saying, hey, Amy, look, I'm seeing this thing here, and it actually needs to be like this for this reason. And then you see what they come back to you with. If they say, oh, I don't know how to do that, ideally, you would have had your list of training recordings, if you've been listening to some of my videos, where you can point them in the right direction, right? If there's a number of people doing the same thing, you can even suggest an impromptu training session. For example, it depends on how much time you have, your resources. But you point them in the right direction to fix it. And then you kind of monitor the situation. You see how long it goes on for a few weeks. And if it continues to get worse and you've been trying to help every now and again, then that's when you go to the manager, right? Now, sometimes situations are just bad and sometimes salespeople don't deal with things like they should. And so there will be a point where you'll have to raise it to your manager, who would usually be the head of sales, who would also be the other sales managers. And the reason why you'll have to raise it, and you will tell your peer that you're going to have to raise it, the reason why you'll have to raise it is because if somebody has been, particularly with forecast numbers, if somebody has not been updating their forecast or not doing it to the level of quality that we need them to do it, it's going to mess up the validity of any analysis that you're doing on the data. So again, the company that I worked with, there was a person who wasn't updating their forecast for months, and their manager didn't know because their manager was new at being a manager and didn't necessarily ask those questions. I don't know the details, to be fair. Either they didn't ask or they were asked and they were lied to. I don't know. But basically, it was news to the manager that this person hadn't updated their forecast for months. So yes, there's several other questions that you can ask, like how did the manager not know? Did they not log in? But again, if the numbers look fair, then you don't know what's going on or not behind the scenes. And so I'd realized that it was an issue, but by the time that I'd realized it was an issue, because again, resourcing, it had gone on for too long, I'd realized at the 5-month mark. And again, this is one of the reasons why you need to have the right amount of sales ops people, the ratio between sales ops people and salespeople, because if you're doing too much, you won't be able to pick up on issues when they're small and they could have been dealt with early on. So I picked it up too late. Or not too late, but very, very late. And by that time, I just had to go straight to the manager, because it's just like, yo, this is your issue, deal with it. And several months on, it's, still really wasn't dealt with. It was like trying to get blood out of a stone. And then obviously, so then it gets to the point where I have to say, hey, I'm going to have to tell our boss about this now, because it's messing up the data. They have so much of the forecast that every single time people are asking me, is this valid? Is this true? It's not. And I know it's not. I don't know to the degree that it's not valid and true, but I know it's not. And so therefore, I have a duty to raise that as a risk, that it's not something that I can fix, but this person is operating outside of the structure. And so therefore, they are an unknown. So when you're looking at these numbers, you have to take them with a pinch of salt, because I cannot tell you in all good conscience that these numbers are correct. Not nice conversations to have, but that's what the difference is between being in sales ops and being a sales manager. It's not for you to come in there with a white hat and save the day every single time. You're responsible for the system, not the people. The difference is that the way you do sales operations, the way I teach people to do sales operations, is so that it's for the benefit of the people. But that doesn't mean that you are responsible for them directly. That's not the route. And so it's difficult, but it is something that has to be raised. And this is where you need your resilience as a sales ops person, as somebody who is becoming a leader or needs to just reaffirm themselves as a leader, because sometimes conversations aren't nice to have. So I hope that's helped. If you do have any questions, please join me on the free Q&A sessions. They're on Tuesday. The time changes every now and again, but they are on Tuesdays. If you go to salesopseffect.com, you'll be able to see a link to join, and I will send you a link to the invitation, and they are free. I can't stress enough how good this is, because I do charge for one-on-one calls, but it's really great to get on a call with other people and being able to hash some things out. And I know some people, me included, we process by talking. So if you need to just come on a call and you're happy to be on a call with other people to talk through some stuff, please do come along. It's on Tuesday. You can find the link at salesopseffect.com. Thank you.